Hello, dear friends. Welcome in Homeopathy Canada live session. And today I have a guest speaker, and she is from Canada. And we will discuss about very interesting case, and that case is about phone. This is a small phone, and I just want to welcome Dr. Jessica in Ontario. She will discuss half of the portion, and she will discuss the superficial information about opium. And today, my case is very interesting because whatever I got in this case is out of box because I didn't go for the present pathology. And after reading Organon of Medicine, after translating Organon of Medicine, I got lots of information, lots of places where improvement is needed. Dr. Hahnemann said, whenever you have a patient, you just, what we need is just the deviation of the health. This is, today's case is a pure example of this. And he said in aphorism number 153, whenever you have a case, doesn't matter how big pathology is there, you just find out very peculiar characteristic symptoms of the patient which belong to patient, not the pathology. So I will uh, present, I will show you these pictures too. So this was a cone which is present on, I will show you that cone. So this is the cone, and this is the eruptions. So it's a thick, heavy, hard cone, and this is present here from last 1 year. She has before, and she got some allopathic treatment. After that, it it was gone, but after that he reoccur again. And she called me, somebody told her to call me, and she called me when I take the case. This is only a telephonic case. She said, I have this problem from last 1 year. And if you see the descriptions of the patient, how he speak and how she express, the expression is much more important here. She said, I have this problem from last 1 year. And I said, and what medicine did you take for it? She said, I didn't take anything. The next question, then why you need medicine now? If from last 1 year you didn't get any medicine, why you need now? She said, doctor, before I don't have any problem. No pain, nothing, everything is gone. And I'm doing 2 shifts. She is doing double shift, morning and evening. And all the time she wear the safety shoe. She said, I I am doing 2 shifts and I have to wear safety shoe all the time. And I said, what is the issue now? Doctor, from last 8, 9 months, there is no pain, nothing. everything is okay, but suddenly it start paining. When it start paining, the pain is too much. I'm not able to walk. Okay, then my issue is that before it was I'm okay with it. If it is present, I'm okay with it. Now it's increasing. I'm not able to work. I'm not able to walk. It's paining all the time. And now is the time when I need this medicine. I need the medicine. So the expression is that before it was not paining, now it's paining. It will increase. And I hope it will, I don't want it will increase more than this. If it is goes more than this, I have to go somewhere else or I have to find out the treatment. The most important thing is that she is in indifferent state before because she know that there is a problem, there is a con. She know that, and she ignoring. Whenever any person know her condition, know his condition, and he voluntarily ignore it, oh, doesn't matter, it will okay, it will okay, because that problem is not disturbing that person at that time. That's why he is ignoring. This is called indifference. This is not frivolous. Frivolous means, oh, I will see, doesn't matter, smiling face with. He is indifference. She is indifference here because she know that she has a problem. She know that before she has lots of corns in the feet, but now the condition is goes beyond the limit. Her limit was if it is not painable, if it is not pain, I'm okay with it. If she is that condition is remain with me, that's okay. But now that corn is paining. This is cross the limit. Now she realized that it is increasing. It will increase. So this condition produce one typical type of fear inside. Fear, it will increase. It will more increase. It will increase day by day. That expression give you a particular hint of one remedy. One side, she is totally indifferent in latent form. She is not bothering. That condition is not bothering. And other side, now that condition is paining, and it's paining so much that she is not able to walk. Kent repertory, we can open the Kent repertory. Kent repertory gives us one absolutely fine rubric of it. So if we see fear of extra vengeance. Extra vengeance. What is extra vengeance? Extra vengeance means when some anything is goes beyond the fear is in future. It will increase. Doctor, from few days it start paining and it will more paining in the future. It will increase. That fear of extra vengeance give you a very characteristic, peculiar nature of the patient. So this is according to aphorism number 153. We have to find out characteristic, very peculiar symptom of the patient. And that was that patient peculiar characteristic symptom in case of corn. The patient before, she was totally indifferent. She has no problem. If the problem is there, she is ignoring it, totally indifference, and suddenly become fearful condition, and that fearful, it will increase. It will goes beyond it. So after giving medicine to her, that condition is solved in only 48 hours. Absolutely gone. I will show you. Look at this. In 48 hour, the condition which is as it is from 1 year is gone in 2 days. This is because if we give medicine according to cons, so lots of remedy like anti-crudum, Tusa, sometimes somebody suggested me, anti-crudum, somebody suggested me many more remedies. But if we connect organum and materia medica, then the combination of these two will give you a resultant, and that resultant is this: 2 days, 48 hours, everything was okay, and no pain, everything is gone, all the con is absolutely gone. This was the case because today we want to discuss this remedy in thoroughly, because we cannot explain all the remedy in one day, because in Materia Medica Pura, Dr. Hanneman gave a long description. I will discuss with you guys, and slowly in parts we will discuss it and more briefly. And tomorrow we have one more session. We will discuss the case, especially cases. I request one of the doctor from India. She will discuss few cases about opium. But me and Dr. Jessica will discuss these whole remedy in brief, so we can understand, you can understand, and if there is any question, we will try to discuss. So I am not taking more time, and I will go for with the Dr. Jessica. She will discuss.
Okay, sorry. Can you see me well? I'm not sure if
Yes,
there's a
yes.
delay.
Okay.
Yeah? Okay, perfect. I wanted to mention too, like if you look up extremity corns in the repertory, you will likely, I don't see in any repertories opium there. So these are the cases where, of course, we have our top tier remedies for certain therapeutics and certain conditions, etc. But when you can solve a case on the strange, rare, peculiar, or the mental symptom of the patient, and so that remedy is not even in the specificity of that condition, that's like the ultimate form of homeopathy for me, right? Like, of course, a UTI with Staphysagra, but what about a UTI with like Natmia or something, that you wouldn't really think about? So I just wanted to say that because I thought this was a really amazing case, because my mind would never go to opium. But the fact that you gave the remedy and literally in 48 hours, the corn resolved and her pain is gone is amazing. So I just kind of prepared a little bit of a general overview of opium from a homeopathic perspective, just for those interested in learning a little bit more about the remedy. It's not super in depth, but it's just to give you an idea of the remedy in general. Um, and I just wanted to give a little disclaimer because I know there are some people who are following who may not know what homeopathy exactly is, and or they confuse it with herbals or supplements, etc. So when we're talking about homeopathic opium, guys, we're talking about the highly diluted potentized form that's made from, homeopathic standards. Okay, so we're not talking, it shouldn't be confused with like an herbal, pharmaceutical, or any sort of illicit form. Whenever you're working with these types of remedies, of course, a homeopathic opium is extremely safe and its therapeutic value is extraordinary, but it's always good to like work with a homeopathic practitioner. Okay, so I just wanted to say that because I don't want you guys getting confused. We're not talking about like codeine or anything like that crazy. Okay. So, in regards to studying and going in depth on this remedy, if we think about opium in nature, so if we actually think about the crude substance in form, I was a nurse for 10 years and, pain medication was very big for patients in the hospital, whether it's pre-op, post-op, etc. And whenever you're giving a remedy or, medicine such as opium or some sort of opiate or pain relief, morphine, etc., the things that you're always looking for or is a slowing of the system. Okay, so it's a slowing of the physical system as well as the mental system of the patient. So we in the hospital as a nurse, we were always monitoring bowel sounds post-op because digestion would very drastically slow. We were always monitoring respiratory rate because again, when you take these types of substances in the crude form, in pharmaceutical forms, your respiratory rate can come down. You might have retention of urine. So if we think about it in that way, we know like cures like. So homeopathic perspective would be any situation where you really see a slowing down of the system, okay? But more so, opium is one of our top remedies for a sort of pervasive fear, okay? Some of our top remedies can include aconite or stramonium, etc. But when you have a pervasive fear, I'm talking about a shock or fright that never wears off. And so the body responds to this, whether it's physical trauma or psychological trauma, where a patient maybe witnesses a car accident or has some sort of incident with a family member or a relationship, or they suffer a physical ailment like a coma or a shock. And then there's some sort of slowed down response and also the ailments around this shock. Opium is one of our top remedies that we should consider and then differentiate between. Okay. Now, one of the other things in reading this remedy and learning about it is when we're talking about a psychological trauma, opium has the ability to deal with repressed emotions. Okay, so if a client is coming to you and they have dealt with some sort of trauma and or fear, and they're sitting in front of you, and you notice that they're abnormally calm or abnormally blissful, kind of like in an opium state, right? Some of the major themes with opium are dissociation and detachment. So the response to the trauma is almost like it's a survival mechanism where they've repressed all of their feelings, whether it's mental or emotional, or they also become numb to the pain, okay, mentally, so that they have these vague ideas of things that may have happened, but they can't really recall. In some cases that I've read where opium was given homeopathically, these repressed emotions had come to the surface, and working with the homeopath, they were able to deal with this trauma over time and lead to healing. Okay. Some of the other things, so opium, major things you would want to consider is any ailments from, like I mentioned, fright, accidents or injuries, shock. The opposite can be true as well. So excitement, embarrassment, mortification, shame, okay? And there's also any sort of surreal experience where there's a feeling of being out of one's body. So in the repertory, there's also the delusion under mind floating in the air. And this is particularly important in cases of possibly vertigo or even following some sort of acute or chronic brain trauma, and this feeling persists. So think in relation to comas or loss of consciousness following concussions. If there's this feeling of being outside of the body, again, going back to the theme of detachment and dissociation, opium is one of those remedies you would want to consider, okay? The idea here is that the response to any sort of trauma, again, physical or mental, is that the opium patient wants to withdraw from the pain. Okay? There's always a withdrawal from the pain. And this is very important for us to know because sometimes we're always looking at, certain grief remedies or things like that. But sometimes when there's a clear dissociation outside of grief, opium might actually be the key remedy. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about opium too. So in relation to dissociation and detachment, if you have a client and you've tried multiple remedies and well-indicated remedies aren't working, or there's a lack of vital reaction, meaning the body is just kind of in a numb state, okay? Opium in our historical text has been used to actually give a response in the body and make us susceptible to the action of other remedies that we would need. So some physicians, homeopathic physicians in the past, they've actually given the dose of opium to kind of wake up the system if this lack of vital reaction was there. Um, it's also very important to consider in cases of paralysis, okay? As well as in the materia medica, you'll see that it says that it's really well related to infants, newborns, and then the elderly, especially in terms of constipation. Now, the thing again is going back to a slowing down of the body. So here you're thinking of almost paralytic states. So if you have a client who is post-op, a lot of medications, and they've have retention of urine or their bowels are very, very slow, opium is something that you would want to consider. Now, you would want to differentiate between other remedies, for example, Illumina or Bryonia, for example. So I had a case of an elderly patient who came to me, and she had persistent constipation. It was so severe. I mean, opium is one of our tops for this. Now, the opium stool will be hard, small balls, okay, black, and in Illumina, you'll have the same kind of symptoms where it's severe constipation, but you'll have a lot of straining, and the straining could even be with a soft stool. So I was looking at this case and she said, I don't have to go to the bathroom at all. I have zero urge. And I'm thinking, oh, opium, Illumina, both of them. But the differentiating factor for me was that when she finally did go to the bathroom, the stool was soft. And so Illumina had that symptom, and opium is more, we would expect the small balls. So actually, Illumina ended up working well. So I can't speak to the effect of opium, but I do know that in that case, that differentiation is there. So again, we're always differentiating our remedies. Sorry, I don't know how long you want me to go. It's not that much longer. But another thing is you can have the opposite effect. So if there's any ailments from fright, but you can have diarrhea, opium can be a top remedy as well, okay? Again, it's always after a fright. In cases of threatened abortion for females after an intense fright, this is one of our top remedies. It's in the Materia Medica, something to always consider. And then again, when we're going back to what I had mentioned previously with respiration, so slowed respiration, this is one of our top remedies to also consider and differentiate in cases of sleep apnea or arrested respiration in the middle of the night. So we can obviously think of Sambucus or we can think of Lachesis, but if you also have cases where the patient is waking up like with their breath held in the middle of the night or they're struggling to breathe, you would also want to differentiate opium, especially if there is some form of physical or mental trauma to the body. Okay. And another really good indication for opium that you would want to differentiate would be in cases of narcolepsy. So again, the induced drowsiness, the people who fall asleep at a whim, this is one of our top remedies to consider in those cases. And then the opposite is also true. So I've had cases where I've had to differentiate opium in cases of sleeplessness And you always want to differentiate it between Coffea cruda because I find that they're almost very similar. But in the repertory, there is the symptom of sleeplessness with the acuteness of hearing. So they can hear the clock striking or the cocks crowing at a great distance, and those noises keep her awake. And with Coffea cruda, they're very sensitive to the acuteness of noise. So if people are around them, they'll constantly be waking. They're struggling with insomnia. They can't sleep. But if there's an acuteness of hearing, you would also want to differentiate between opium. And then I'll just mention a little bit about the general. So whenever you're considering this remedy, generally they are warm-blooded and aggravated by any warmth or heat, and they generally will have some sort of hot perspiration. It's also an important remedy to consider in any sorts of cases of alcoholism, where you can also have these types of symptoms. So, arrested breathing or very heavy sleep. Um, this is where you would want to be differentiating between nux. Because with this remedy, like all remedies, there is a polar variation where you'll have the slowing of the body, but you'll also have the hypersensitivity and the excessive sensitiveness. And so opium also has those cases where you can be irritable, hypersensitive, kind of in a nux-like state, and have constipation. So is it opium or is it nux? So when you're looking at the hypersensitivity, and that's what reminded me of your case actually, because at first it wasn't indifference. So it was indifference in the beginning, but there was no pain. Okay. But then all of a sudden, it's like the pain became too much to bear. Right. And so we know with opium, one of the keynote symptoms is painlessness of symptoms that would usually be painful for other people. So there's this kind of numbing state again on even the physical body. So like the type of person, they're gonna be in a car accident, for example, they break their leg or something happens and they don't even notice it because they're just in a state of shock that they don't feel it. So that's that painlessness with, the pain, without the pain. But for your client, she was super hyper aware of this pain all of a sudden, and it was like the end of the world. And that's the polar opposite of the opium state. So I feel like that's why that remedy really resonated, and that's where the fear of extravagance, sorry, I'm saying that wrong, but comes in. And that's where I made that connection, right? So it's on that polar end of opium. So I thought that was really interesting. And then that's pretty much it. I just wanted to touch on some of those points because, we're always as homeopaths, we're always studying remedies, going deeper into them. My whole mind has been blown now by opium, and I'm looking
I,
for, the cases of where I'm going to
I will
prescribe it.
add you something, few things I just want to add.
Sure.
You give example of opium and alumina. So there's a big difference. If
Yeah.
we read Manual of Pharmacodynamics of Dr. Richard Hughes, he says the intestinal canal and the rectum. So I will add you two more remedies, Nux vomica and Bryonia.
Yes.
We always read there's lots of dry Bryonia.
Mm-hmm.
He is constipated. Brainia doesn't have any amount. She doesn't, or he doesn't have any urge to go to stool, even though many days, because when intestine absorb the water from the intestine, the body absorb that water from the intestine, the stool become dry. This is the reason, because there is a dryness, there is a movement of the intestine, but
Mm-hmm.
also dryness of the intestine, the stool doesn't move forward. Bryonia. Opium. Opium has very sluggish movement. Dr. Haring says
Yeah.
in Alan's keynote, he said, opium rendered the intestine so sluggish that the most active purgative lose their power.
Yes, they have no peristalsis.
No power.
Yeah.
And even Dr. Hahnemann says that case where the opium is indicated, there is a want of susceptibility of remedies. It means body give, if you give them medicine, allopathic medicine, any medicine, body doesn't react. He doesn't give reaction. 2, 3 times, there is no movement. He take the medicine, no movement, nothing happened. Even your well selected remedy give you no results. He says lack of vital reaction. The well chosen remedy makes no impression. And he gave brackets carboveg, laurocilorus, and valerianum. And
And
the fourth remedy is sulfur.
yes, and you know what's also interesting too is you know how in cases where you can have labor trauma. Okay, so a woman is in labor and let's say the birth is extremely traumatic, both for the newborn, okay, because they're going through this experience, and for the mother. And so let's say the baby comes out and maybe they need a little bit of support with respiration or their breathing is irregular. Like I was a labor and delivery nurse, so I always think like, oh, maybe if we had some remedies there, it would have been really helpful as well. But you know, you automatically think of lorosorasis or carboveg, but opium, especially in my mind, if the birth was medicated with the pain medications that we're giving in an epidural, etc., and then you add on a birth trauma, and then the baby needs a little support. Opium would be one of those remedies that would be so beneficial in those acute situations, right?
So before our teacher always recommend us before opium, think of aconite when these situations are there.
Yeah.
Because the fear of aconite is very remote, very quick, very quick. Because he said, if somebody having a gun and in front of you, and what you feel that I will die now. If
That
we kill, die,
that's
it's
the key.
done.
That's the key, right?
This is aconite.
Yeah. Whereas opium, they don't think that.
Any person, she she has a baby in the stomach, and in front of her there is a operating tools are there. He has a sudden fear, and our teacher always recommend, always give aconite. She will be
Yes.
okay. But there is a chances of abortion. You mentioned is there fear. Fear cause abortions. Sudden abortion, threatened abortion after flight. If we read in stool, in rectum, there is an involuntary movement of stool after fright, involuntary movement of urination after fright.
Mm-hmm.
But if we read Dr. Materia Medica Pura, Dr. Hahnemann give in his footnote, he says, smelling of the globules of the size of mustard seed moistened with the potentized dilutions of opium give almost immediately relief to one who has undergoes violent fright,
Yes.
but only on the condition that he perform that olfaction immediately after the fright has been received. It employ later, it not only bring no relief, it rather than harm. If it is goes for 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hours, then no opium, aconite.
Mm-hmm.
Immediately, if somebody is frightful, immediately, if he or she smell the opium, he will be okay in few seconds. And Dr. Henneman give one more example. Sometimes we gave opium and we didn't get any results. We have to wait because opium, Dr. Hahnemann says, opium is almost the only medicine that in its primary action does not produce a single pain.
Exactly.
No pain. And you will see many cases. Fever is 105, 106. And he says, how are you? I'm okay, doctor. I doesn't have any problem. No problem at all. But he is in big trouble. One-sided, you will see that, oh, that person is very serious, 105 fever. And other side, he says, oh, doctor, I don't have any problem. I don't want to take any medicine. I'm good.
That's the opium.
This is opium.
Yes,
And
exactly.
third thing, very peculiar to the opium, that is hot perspiration.
Hmm.
You believe that any person having a high fever and having a perspiration and his body hot, is it very strange? Very, very strange.
Hmm.
After perspiration, the body temperature goes down. But in case of opium, if you touch the body is hot, moist. For example, if you put your hand under the vapors and you will feel that heat from boiling water, the vapors give something on your feet, something something on your palm here. And if you feel that hotness, the same hotness you will feel in the skin of opium.
Hmm.
If you touch, you will feel the hotness because even after perspiration, that temperature should be go down. But in case of opium, it will not go down. It is very serious, very dangerous condition.
And they're almost numb to it, exactly. They
Yes.
don't want the medicine.
So that's why opium having a hot perspiration. You will see in belladonna, and I gave many times the example of fever, aconite and belladonna, because many people confuse which remedy will be preferred. Just do one thing. If any person having a fever, pick the cloth and put touch the body. If the skin is dry, high fever, dry skin, no perspiration, aconite. If the under the cloth, if you feel that there is a moist heat under the cloth, belladonna. Absolutely wonderful example between aconite and belladonna. Big difference. If you touch,
Yeah,
observe, touch, and you will differentiate the remedy.
that's why we have so many remedies for fever too, right?
And
It's not always belladonna.
and opium having a high fever, no complaint. Sleepy, no complaint. And if he has a fever, hot perspiration. Hot perspiration. This is the example, what Hahnemann says, very peculiar, very characteristic symptoms of the patient. And this is one of the example. I just want to read that portion for you guys so we can understand more keenly. In aphorism number 153, and I read it many times and I love to read it again.
Strange, rare, peculiar.
In
Yeah.
this search for homeopathic specific remedy, that is to say, in the comparison of the collective symptom of the natural disease, with the list of symptoms of known medicines. In order to find among these an artificial morbific agent corresponding to similarity to the disease to be cured, more striking, singular, uncommon, peculiar characteristic sign and symptoms. In the case of disease are chiefly and the more solely to be kept in view. And for it is more particularly these that very similar one in the list of symptoms of the selected medicine must correspond. So we need more study because maximum time we have no experience with materia medica pura. And what Hahnemann did, Hahnemann take all the symptoms and compare, which is very peculiar. And he only select, only observe the mind symptom to differentiate the remedies. Because there are lots of symptoms which are present in many remedies. But how they differentiate? They differentiate with the disposition.
Yes, exactly.
Where Hahnemann said in 210, 11, and 12, disposition of the patient. Every person behave differently. Every patient see the situation differently. Like this lady is indifferent. If she has a problem, doesn't matter because it's not bothering her. But suddenly that condition when bothering her, she is running here and there how to get rid of this pain. That's why disposition is more important here. This is the reason why organon of medicine is much more needed. Every homeopath needs this organ of medicine to read, compare, and whenever you stuck anywhere, read organon. You will definitely get answer of your queries.
And connect with homeopaths and do these types of things because this is how we learn and we grow, right? We
So,
have to talk about the remedies.
what is our motive? Motive is discussion.
Hmm.
If you want to come and join us, you are all are welcome.
Hmm.
But discussion give us more information. Discussion give us more clarity. Discussion give us more questions, and more questions will get more answers,
Yeah, absolutely.
and it will give us a clear way to treat the patient. So hope so. This discussion will help you guys, and hope so will you will give us questions or a review about today's discussion. And if you like to join us, you can send us message. We will definitely make a one collective video so we can discuss the topic. If you have more information regarding this, send us. And if you like such videos, give your views, comments, so we can definitely make more discussion on these type of topics. Thank you so much. And thank you, Dr. Jessica, for your important time for us.
No, of course. Yeah, I always enjoy, talking about homeopathy, learning the remedies, and sharing, what we can, because it's always good for us. And I'm looking forward to the other homeopath that you're going to be having on her cases of opium. That will be very nice to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you,
Okay, thank you guys.
guys.
Have a great day.
Thank you.